You don't have to if you don't want to. All right. So I'm super excited to have you here today. Here we go. Hello and welcome to the Transformational Speakers Podcast. I'm your host, Erin Lomanjek, and I'm excited about our next guest today. Harrison Klein is the Leading Transformational Luminary. He nimbly guides, mentors, instructs thousands of people from every corner of the world how to play a bigger game in their lives on a daily basis and how to wrap their arms around fresh new understandings of their spiritual potential. I'm super excited to have you here. I know we just met, but we're going to be speaking on an event in Florida and Miami in February. So I'm excited to expose my audience to you. So tell us, I know it's not a straight line. You didn't wake up at 5 years old and say, I can't wait to help people have an understanding of their spiritual potential. So tell us, how did you get to where you are today?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me, Erin. This is awesome. I appreciate the whole experience of being into the transformational world and your contribution to that because everybody who can help transform anyone is a friend of mine. And, everything that happens is for the purpose of transforming other people. And my purpose here tonight basically is to create a shift in you and in all people, basically, that I'm not talking to everybody because I'm not an everybody kind of person. But you know how when you're young, you sometimes feel like a pawn or a chess piece on a chessboard tossed around by forces that you have no control over? Um, you know how sometimes when you grow up in a dysfunctional environment, you can't think straight because of all the hypocrisy and relentless distortion of values and family criticisms you sometimes endure? I'll give you another one. You know how, you have periods of deep soul grief and depression and feel lost and useless when you're growing up? And then worse, you don't even know what you may have done or deserve, to deserve it, basically. So what I want to say is I want to fast forward now to 41 years away to today. And the thing here is, what if I gave you the exact blueprint that I gave to 14 multimillionaires to achieve maximum, reconnection to the joyous feelings of higher meaning, greater wealth, love, and super heightened existence? Would people be interested, or would you be interested, whoever's listening to this? And what if
Me.
I could Yeah, here we go. And then what if I could help you step into a reality far above your current experience? Things like luxury wealth, high impact, strong influence, living the dream in sexy environments. You know, what I am, Aaron, basically is a metacognition inspirationalist. I'm a master coach and a change maker. And I support CEOs and entrepreneurs, business owners, coaches, and high net worth individuals to achieve really maximum levels of mind blowing super equilibrium. And to do that, I use basically 10 principles in the areas of five major freedoms: family, faith, fun, fitness, and finances. And I just want to encourage everybody here, which is the purpose of this today, to attend the Global Awakening Summit, or the Global Awaken Summit, February 24th to 26th. And there's going to be 30 plus world-class speakers like yourself, and Forbes Riley and James Dentley and Laurel Langmeyer, and all the great speakers that are coming there. So I just wanted to say, that's what this is all about. That's what I'm all about. And I want to, and I encourage everyone to, understand that everywhere we look today, there's confusion and distraction and psychological pain. We're going through sort of a time of tumultuous change in power and technology and wealth and information and transformation. And, except for the evolved, the wealthy, and the iconic. And that's what we're doing here. We're helping people get into the evolved, the wealthy, and the iconic. So that's what my purpose is. I was born for this mission, so that's all good. So.
And is that what you're going to be sharing on the stage when we're there in Miami, February 24th to the 26th?
Indeed, we're going to talk about that. I have two different platforms that I'm going to be on. One is I'm going to individually speak on exactly what we're talking about here, the blueprint to creating iconic experience and living. And the other one is I'm going to be on a panel with my two partners, Mark and Kamal, who basically we are called the Wealthy Mofos. And And we're going to do a panel discussion on wealth and business scaling. So both of those areas are specialties of ours and mine. And, we are in a love embrace with all of humanity.
I
So,
love that. No, and it's so funny. So you wouldn't know this, but I am actually just ran a masterclass this week on money blocks and abundance blocks, and kind of the things you alluded to at the beginning, like really Stanford did a study about how our brains are wired for who we are, who we think, or how we think we fit in the world, and how the world works is already programmed in before the age of 18. So a
right.
lot of us are operating from our childhood mind and some of the belief systems that we created as a child. And so if we don't examine those, we really are at the mercy of that. And some of those things are archaic and they don't even make sense anymore, but we still have them inside of us that control how we perceive and receive wealth. So if I was to ask you, what do you think is the biggest block that people have around money and deservingness and worthiness, abundance, prosperity?
Ignorance. Ignorance of how everything works, ignorance of the laws of the universe, ignorance of identification, ignorance of their self-image, ignorance of their belief systems and what it is exactly that they're blocked by. Most of us have kind of determined our personality by the time we're 7 or 8 years old. And then as we grow, we don't even know we're pre-programmed into particular kinds of attitudes and behaviors. And as we find out, the those things either work or don't work for us, and they determine our psychological um, pain or happiness. And the thing is that if people are in psychological pain and they're not having the life that they want, basically, it's only a matter of a few different things. And those are basically limiting belief systems, limiting psychological identities or self-image, and then how do we integrate that into the higher space? That's what I'm all about teaching, and that's what I want to do with the people at the Global Awaken Summit, whoever is into that. And then we want to, once we change those belief systems to the one where we can flow, and wealth means well-being basically, and it means flow. So when money flows, when we feel good, we're in a wealthy state. I don't care what you have or don't have, but you're in a wealthy state in those situations. And when you can move into those kinds of things, you actually move into the iconic space of your own power. And that power becomes really a metacognition. And you begin to understand how to manifest easily without any without any problems. And like the super rich, basically, money to them is like air. They just breathe. So you don't think about breathing, you just breathe basically. And when you come into a higher belief system, you can come into the space of just breathing. And financial abundance, financial freedom is easy when you are in a space of just knowing and experiencing that knowledge and that and the right flow system. So basically
Yeah.
that's what I teach. Yeah.
I love that because it is really truly, money is 80% mindset and 20% is the knowledge. Like, then what do you do with it? How do you leverage it? How do you get better with it? All of those things. But that's only 20%. The rest is up here. The rest is inside of us and our belief systems that maybe we haven't challenged before. So when people come to you and they say, okay, how do I get into this flow? Like, how do I, is there a state change I can create? What is it that if I'm really feeling like can't keep my own lights on, I'm struggling to show up in the world the way I want to, I can't do the things I want to do, how can someone, when they're feeling that, because that's a huge jump from like, I feel at rock bottom, I can't go, oh, I totally believe this, I am so wealthy, when there's no evidence there. So for them, what would you say about how can you even take the steps towards feeling more in the flow?
Yeah, first of all, you have to change your money vibe. So, that is how you feel about money. But you can't go from the dark place into the light place in a single leap. You have to get to neutral first. So, the neutral is that you have to be okay with where you are. And then you have to appreciate where you are. From that place, once you start to appreciate where you are, you begin to, change your money vibe by imagining and and stepping into the environment or the vibration of money so that you feel it. This is not a thinking universe, it's a feeling universe. And when you can feel that wealth, and what does wealth feel like? When you can feel what wealth is, then money starts coming to you easily and abundantly. What does it feel like to be wealthy? Well, it feels like confidence. It feels like, it feels like joy. It feels like freedom. It feels like, unencumbered lightheartedness. It feels like ability to do anything you want, right? And as you start to think and process and find the feelings of what that is or what wealthy people feel like. Basically, you can do that by going into their environments and going into environments of wealth, basically, and absorb those kinds of feelings. You start to change your money vibe. An exercise I give people, which is really kind of cool, immediately changes their money vibe. I say in seconds. I say, I want you to imagine that you have $20 billion at your disposal. What would you do? What's it feel like? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do with that? That changes your money vibe because you start thinking abundantly. What is the abundance of this?
And
What kind of
bigger.
yeah, with $20 billion. So that immediately changes a person's money vibe. And if they can stick with that and do that for 30 days, what can I do with $20 billion? What can I do? Period. That changes their money vibe, and they start to experience it in a bigger way. And then they're okay with who they are because now they're thinking so big that who they are, what they are, and what their experience is irrelevant. You don't want to be in the relevancy of your poor situation and your poverty consciousness. You want to be in the relevancy of what can I do that makes a humongous difference? What is the luxury experience that I want to feel? What is the problems I want to solve for so many people? What is the impact that makes a difference with all this money? It's not about money, it's about what you can do with it. And if you're focused on money, then you're focused in the wrong way, and especially if you're in poverty consciousness or struggling. If you focus on money, you're focusing on the wrong thing because it hasn't worked for you up until this point. You got to focus on what you can do with that situation, with when you're wealthy, so that you can bring that into your experience.
Yeah, I love that because I always say you cannot be a lighthouse to the world if you can't keep your own lights on. It's not about making money for money's sake. It's
Yeah.
what you can do with it. And I love working with speakers and coaches and thought leaders because for me, it's a ripple effect that I get to make in the world by helping you speak and do better things and get in front of bigger audiences and really transform lives. The other awesome part is that you make a lot of money. And when people like us make a lot of money, we do good things. Charities, nonprofits, causes are all funded. Like we talked about before we got on here, cleaning up the oceans, like things like that. When you said 20 billion, I was like, cleaning up the ocean. Yeah, that's in. I'm like, what else? Check, check, check. Right?
I want to take young children out of negativity. I want to give water to the world who has no water. I want to feed people who are hungry that go to sleep at night. And all that kind of stuff. Richard Branson, I read one time that he every morning he has breakfast by himself. He doesn't allow any other people to have breakfast, and with that he has a legal pad in front of him as he eats. And he puts down 25 ideas to help humanity every single day. He doesn't get up from the table until he's done that. And when he's done that, he rips the sheet off, he hands it to one of his secretaries, and he says, find somebody who will implement every one of these ideas. You know what the kind of abundant thinking that is? It's amazing. You start coming into the abundant vibe of how you can help all of humanity, how you can help as many as you possibly can. Money's going to start flowing to you. If you want to put your kid through college and you want to sell something, and the guy says, why do you want to sell me this thing? And you say, I need to put my kid through college. He says, I got kids of my own. But if you go in there and you say, 3 children have been hit by cars crossing the streets and where we, in our neighborhood basically, but we want to create a park that where kids don't have to cross the street to get there, he'll reach in his pocket and he'll help. You understand? So you have to have everything works on the law of cause and effect. The bigger the cause, the easier the how. And, if you've got a good cause, the effect is automatic. Automatic.
Yeah.
That's the law of the universe. You create the cause, you don't work on the effect. Most people, when they want more money, they work on the effect. They try to work harder, they want to try to work longer, they try to work, with more customers. That's not how it works. You have to work with the cause. What is the why? What do you want to do? And, what's a bigger reason to make more money?
Yeah.
And yeah. And that sets up your mindset. And you said it's 80-20. I say it's 90-10. So it's 90% mindset, 10% activity. And
Yeah.
you don't have to do a lot of things in the physical space to make that happen. You have to be in the psychological space to make that happen.
Yeah. Because then you're attracting what you are. And if you
Or you can,
expand, yeah, if you expand that out, like if you are feeling like you're, I have no money, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't pay the bills, I can't whatever, that's all you're attracting more of that, right? And so
poverty
when you
consciousness, that's poverty consciousness in the worst way.
Yeah. And I love that, for me, like so much of what I do as speakers is teaching them, get out of your own way. This isn't about you. You're the vessel to be out there and to share this with the world. And you're doing it for the audience, not for you. Right. And money will come when you're doing it for the big cause, for others. Right. And when we do that, when we like literally some people are like, well, what do I have to say? What's so special about me if I get up on stage and do this stuff or whatever? It's like, but it's not about you. The things you've gone through in your life are so for the audience. That's because you went through it, you understand it. Now you're helping them navigate whatever their situation is with some of the solutions that you came to. That's not about you. And so when you get into that place of really serving the world and serving the planet, like he's talking about in the morning, doing that every single day, it really isn't about you now. It's not making money for money's sake. It's about what the impact we can create in the world.
Poverty consciousness says, how can I get more money? Wealth consciousness or prosperity consciousness says, how can I serve more people? Huge distinction.
Yeah.
Huge.
I love that because you know what? It's almost like you should have that on your wall and be like, where am I right now? What set of thoughts am I thinking? And is it towards this one or towards this, right? And really making sure you're staying in that, how can I serve in a bigger way?
Yeah,
That's where flow comes from.
yeah, and that's where all the great money comes from. And then when you are able to serve in a big way, one of the things that I highly recommend is that you create delight in your experiences. You create delight for everybody. You make it fun in some way, or joyous in some way, or really delightful in some way. And that also helps the experience because people get loyal when they feel delight. They
Oh, I
get
love that.
loyal to what you do. They get loyal to the process. They get loyal to the end result. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so true because I have clients that will keep hiring me. I'm like, okay, we do, a certain round, like I do 6 months, and then at the end of 6 months, I'm like, if we still are, needing my services, we're still working towards it because there's more people I need to serve as well, right? Like there's a limited time and a limited amount. So when I'm doing that, they buy my energy. They buy from me what I'm able to help them create because we get into the flow state. We're in that, we're expanding their reach and even what they think is possible because of the light. There's so many times where I would be in a room, even if I'm not speaking, and I'm selling like crazy. And I'm not really selling. It's not like I go in there and I'm like some salesperson. I'm like going each person, how can I serve you? It's just being that. And when you are the light, of course, the moths all come to the light, right? Everybody is attracted to the light. And so many times people buy my certainty, my confidence, my fun and energetic self. And I think so many times we're like, but this is the solution that I sell. This is what I do. And if you actually sell who you are and the beingness, they want to be in that vicinity so that they can be that as well.
So yeah, so the truth of the matter is people don't buy products, they buy you.
Yep.
So the products are just an extension of something that is, a byproduct of what you are, basically. So in this world, we get what we are and not what we want. So it is in the becoming that we attract everything. It is not in the finality of things.
I
So Yeah, so when you're, when you're around a lot of people, they get very loyal to you because they like who you are. And what you are is what lifts them up. It isn't what you say. It isn't the words that or the information that lift them up. It's the who you are.
How you make them feel just being in your presence.
That's what Maya Angelou said, yes.
And I love that because we're all just mirrors for each other,
That's all.
right?
The world is just a mirror. There's nothing, it's nothing else, and it can't smile before you do.
I like that. I like that. You can't smile before you do. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
That's so true. That's in the beingness, not in the doingness,
That's right. The
right?
doingness comes after the beingness. The beingness has to come first. Here's the principle. You can't you can only have what you already have. You can't have, you can't want something and have it simultaneously. They are two opposite vibrations. They're two opposite experiences. So you have to come into the being of it. So if you want to get $1 million, you have to be a millionaire internally before you can experience $1 million. So you can never experience $1 million if you're in poverty consciousness. You can never experience $1 million if you're, trying to make something happen. You have to be the millionaire internally. That is, you have to convince yourself through your identity, through your self-image, and through the things you believe, and through the internalization of the feeling of that you are that. And so because you are that, you get it. Just like a ballerina will always have a tutu and pair of shoes. A musician will always have their instrument, no matter what. As they identify themselves, they get the things that they're identified with
I love that. This is
without any effort. Yeah.
I love this. Well, I can't wait. This is going to be an amazing event. The Global Awakened Events.com is where you can get your tickets. We're going to be in Miami, Florida, February 24th to the 26th with amazing speakers. We said like plus 30 plus speakers, an opportunity for me to get out of the cold, but also an opportunity to be around other thought leaders who are raising the vibration of the planet, the consciousness of the planet, coming together in a large way to impact, influence, and inspire others, and not for the sake of money, but for the sake of bringing more joy to your life and to others. And so it's really exciting that we're all going to be there. And I can't wait because then we get to meet in person. I feel like so much of the world in the last 3 years is like, oh, we all know each other virtually, but actually getting to like be belly to belly and give each other a hug and be like, it's nice to meet you in person finally.
That's going to be the way that it is. We're going to have some fun with each other and we're going to experience the feeling of each other and not just the looking of each other. So, as we experience the feeling, hey, everybody has a good time. And especially when you have thought leaders who are already in a place of where they're feeling good. So, those who are not feeling good get lifted by being around that situation. Those who are in mediocrity or conformity basically find examples of how to feel good. And those who are in poverty consciousness say, okay, here are the possibilities for the next step. So it's all good. The Global Awaken Summit is where we're going to be. I want all you guys to be there, or I'll come kick your.
Or if this isn't for you, please don't be there. Okay.
Please
We'll
don't
sort
be
those
there.
people out too.
I don't know about all the people that are going to be there, all the speakers, but I'm not for everybody. I'm just for who wants to go with me. So,
Yes.
that's all.
No, and
So,
that's the way it should be. So
yeah.
I always ask on my podcast this one question. So I always talk about ELJ. She is my future self. She's got a $40 million company. She's sat on the trees with Oprah, New York Times bestselling author. She's done all the things. And when I need advice, I ask her because she knows. She already knows. She's already been through it. So if we
Your
were to
higher
bring your future self here today, what advice would he give you?
wisdom, fun, enjoyment, and service. Just basically have some experiences that you want to give to the world. Your message is your mess has been is your really your message. And so when you find out what you're able, as you said, what you're able to have resolved, what you've resolved in your life, you can then help other people to resolve that. Zig Ziglar said, you can get everything you want as long as you help other people get what they want. And the whole thing is like, I believe in love. I believe in the fact that love creates prosperity. I believe in the fact that life creates life and that, all that is alive influences all that wants to be alive as well.
I love that. Well, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. I can't wait to see you in person at the Global Awakened Summit. You can click on the link in the comments, the globalawakenedevents.com, to get your ticket, February 24th to the 26th. We're excited to have you there. We're excited to see you. And thank you so much, Harrison, for being here and being the light in the world that we need more.
And you know what? I just want to say, I want to reiterate the immortal words of Mick Jagger, who said, I know it's only rock and roll, but I like it. We'll see you there.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank the audience.